This is about to be a spoiler-filled review. So if you haven't played the game, or watched someone play the game, or heard about the game when someone in class was like, yo, did you hear that blank died in the new Call of Duty? Then don't watch this, because next time I won't blank out Lieutenant Wu's name. Oh, sorry, that was a spoiler, my bad. So I'm not gonna bury the lead here. I didn't like the campaign. Gameplay-wise, I give it about a 7. Story, a 6. Presentation, a 4. But Ghost Mask variety gets a 10 out of 10, baby! And clearly I'm not the only one who felt this way, with IGN dropping a hot new engagement machine sure to make Twitter users dozens of dollars, and apparently there were even review bombings of the wrong game. But I don't blame them, honestly, because the branding of this game absolutely fucking sucks. But before we get into it, I want to have a quick little disclaimer. I don't blame the devs for this game. I know, weird, I'm not blaming the people who made the game for how bad the game is. No, because every piece of evidence points to this game was scrapped together in the last 6 months. And with that, honestly, I gotta give major props to the devs for actually being able to make something that is even this comprehensible. So even though everything I say in this video is about to be negative as it's all in good fun. I don't blame the devs. Please invite me to COD next. The issue that I had with the campaign is twofold. Fold 1. I don't want to call them folds, actually. That's gross. Problem 1. It just feels incomplete to me. Like, the story only serves to set up a sequel, but doesn't do that very well. So much of the plot is Makarov is doing a bad, so 141 goes swipe or no swiping, and Makarov runs away. Except randomly on one of these ordeals, Soap is shot, and they accidentally hit the roll credits button. Honestly, it's the missed potential that I'm disappointed by the most, because they had some really good character threads in there if you dug deep. Like Gaz becoming Price's moral compass, Farah getting her people killed by her own hubris, and the Soap Graves powwow. But none of those points actually go anywhere, so again, they just feel unfinished. And that isn't helped by the POV swapping between people more than my mom trying to find me a new daddy either. In the 14 missions, we play as 9 different characters. That's Nolan, Farah, Price, Laswell, Samara, Soap, Gaz, Ghost, and the AC-130 guy. This constant switch is honestly a huge reason that the narrative feels all over the place to me, because you can't connect with the characters in the same way that you could in the previous games, where it was either Soap, Gaz, or Alex, except for specific story beats that called for it. And because of all that, I felt zero connection to Soap in this game, because he was only ever really in cutscenes or one of 12 different people talking to me during open combat missions. And I would have loved to play as him some more, considering that, you know, he fucking dies in 2 hours, but the game just couldn't make time for it, I guess. Alright, so, I have another issue. I have one other issue with, this is problem 1A. And has to do with the story, more specifically with the timeline. So Makarov escapes from prison in November of 2023. However, back in the previous game, Laswell goes to the guys at that bar in November of 2022 and tells them that Makarov is back, a time that he should still be in prison and will remain there for the next year. What possibly put Makarov on her radar that was so pressing to go to Price about the day that they saved Chicago, but not pressing enough to do anything about for a full year? And also, how would she not know his name if he was the one responsible for the attack in Verdansk? It's just not making any sense. Hello? Help, I'm lost. I don't want to waste too much time going through every single timeline issue here, but just trust me when I say that there's a lot of them. Problem 2, open combat missions. So I labeled this as a problem because that's what gets the clicks nowadays, but honestly, I think that they're a good concept that they just didn't quite hit the mark on. They feel, I don't know, cheap. And now I would have no issues with these missions if they were in addition to a full-fledged regular narrative campaign, but they just aren't. Of the 14 missions in this game, 6 of them are open combat missions, 2 are walking simulators, 1 is an AC-130 mission, and that only leaves 5 for regular, standard, linear levels. And honestly, they're all great. All 5 of them are fantastic, but there's just not enough of them. Like, this is a lot of time to dedicate to what's basically just Spec Ops missions. The supply crate unlock system is also a little bit weird, because when you unlock a new weapon or piece of equipment, it's only added to the pool of stuff that you can use on that same mission if you choose to replay it. Like, what's the point of going around and collecting all these weapons? Oh, well, so that you can use them when replaying. Yeah, but why would I want to replay these missions? To unlock the weapons. But please don't think about it that hard. I can't help but feel like a better system would have been that you unlock it in one mission and it's global, so you can bring it into the next one after you get it. So for instance, if you spent the extra time on the first OCM to find the hidden ascender, then you're rewarded in High Rise by being able to skip half the level. That way you're incentivized to explore and find that silent sniper rifle to make the next stealth section easier. Or you hear this mission is all about destroying helicopters, so you equip the explosive crossbow that you unlocked 2 missions earlier. My chat mentioned that it also would have been cool if there were multiple different ways to actually achieve the objective in each mission. So for instance, you could plant explosives on the helicopters to destroy them, or you could hack some SAM turrets to destroy them when they take off instead. Maybe you can wear a Coney disguise in the island mission and find out where what's-her-name is hiding that way, or choose to infill into High Rise at night and clear it like cleaning house. There's really not a lot of choice when it comes to these open combat missions, when that was the entire selling point of them to begin with, and it really just feels like they're half-baked, which is kind of a theme of the last few years, if I'm being honest. Now, getting back to the story for a minute, one thing that I've heard a lot from people who actually think that this campaign is better than MW2 2022 is that at least something happened in this game, that at least the plot moved forward. And to that, I have one small question, and that's, did it though? Here's a simplified timeline of events of what actually happens in MW3. Makarov escapes from prison. Makarov tries to be a terrorist. 141 stops him from becoming a terrorist. He kills Soap. Like, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but that's just like the first part of a story. Like, there is no follow-through. There's a setup, but no punchline. It's like when you're, like, getting ready to cook something, but you realize, oh shit, I'm missing a key ingredient here. So you... And I've been trying my best to not compare this game to the original trilogy that much, but like they tried No Russian again, man. I have to talk about it. It just wasn't as good. And that's not because that there were less civilian casualties or it didn't kick off World War III. And in fact, I actually really liked the new take of a former ULF fighter being blamed for it and playing as her as she's thrust into the situation with passengers attacking her as she's trying to stop the bomb. I thought all that was great. But what I disliked was that after the attack, Farah wipes the evidence from the crash site, taking what was an objective failure and turning it into a more bitter win. Like, the thing that gave missions like No Russian such power in the original is that you lose. Alan is killed and blamed for the attack. The nuke goes off in Iran and Jackson is melted. Ghost and Roach are also melted. Those moments where the player loses give their victories weight. And if everything can just be cleaned up by Farah or Ghost swooping in to save the day, it kinda destroys the stakes. The only time in this campaign that we come close to something like this is during the Verdansk flashback, where they're so wrapped up at the stadium that they don't notice the airport is bombed. And this is a great moment, but it happens through a flashback, which kind of nullifies a lot of it. Which brings us to our brand new segment on this show called Austin Thinks He's a Better Writer Than Professional Writers. I'm your host, Austin. So here's how I think that the campaign could be greatly improved by just changing a few small things. You know, just turning some knobs, you know, pulling on some dicks. Stop changing POVs every single mission and just stick with Gaz, Soap, or Alex except for when absolutely necessary. Let's also move the Verdansk attack into present day. Like, this event already is the largest thing to have ever happened in the new universe, and it should be in the present to help illustrate Makarov's current level. The first time that we see Shepard should be in the Siberia mission when he's rescued. Seeing him a few minutes earlier steps on the reveal and serves no real purpose to the plot. During the airplane hangar mission, we should play as the ground crew as well as the AC-130, and we should physically see Makarov on the ground, so that the player can reasonably think that when they level the building, he might actually be there. Oh, and just cut the Gora Dam mission, and it just makes it feel like he has a personal vendetta against Verdansk only for some reason. Like the third attack he's carrying out on that fucking city, man. Now, if you'll indulge me, I actually have one more suggestion, but it's a little bit bigger, and so be warned, it's kind of an alternate ending. Entering the final mission, only Price and Soap go into the tunnels. Instead, Gaz and Ghost remain topside in a gunfight. This is so that when Soap defuses the bomb, it'll only be him and Price down there. Makarov still pops out and shoots Soap, but you'll actually be playing as Soap this time, so it has more impact. And you stay in his head as he bleeds out, helplessly watching Price and Makarov fight. Echoes of Shepard and Zakhaev's final moments ring out in veteran players' heads as Soap reaches for a gun conveniently placed in front of him. He picks it up, aims it at Makarov, and pulls the trigger. But it jams. Makarov, who's all but beaten Price to death, turns to the player, grabs the gun out of their hands, unjams it, and shoots them in the head. Soap dies. He failed. But instead of a game over screen, we switch POVs into a wounded Price for the first time in the game, as he tries to chase Makarov, but he can't keep up. Makarov leaves him with a few final words. Something like, "You'll never learn, John," but like less cringy. And Price starts to hear Gaz and Ghost on his radio yelling about that last gas-laced ICBM hitting Big Ben on the surface. We don't see it, but only hear the destruction through Price's earpiece as he falls to the ground and passes out. Cut to credits. Now that is how you tease a sequel. The stakes are raised. The game has changed. It's an attack on the West. Holy shit, we've never seen that before in the new Modern Warfare trilogy. Our characters are at their lowest point. I mean, New Price is cool and all, but like, I want to see the man suffer. That's what makes an interesting story. I want to see things happen. Now, I'm not saying that these points would make the game perfect, and I'm not even saying that they would close every single plot hole and wouldn't even introduce new ones, but like, man, just sitting down to write those out earlier today just got me so excited about the kind of game that we could have gotten, and the kind of game that Call of Duty has always been. These badass, epic stories that actually made you feel something. You know, something that isn't just disappointment when you realize that the game's over. Like, I can't be the only one who is taken completely off guard when the thing just ends.